Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's everyone's favorite sweetheart, the actor Timothee Chalamet. Let's astrohunk him. Hey crew, I'm Lexi, your local lightworker. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer. Welcome to ASTROHUNKS, the series where I dissect the birth charts of famous male celebrities for your viewing pleasure. In today's episode, we are going to be exploring the birth chart of one sweet paprika, the actor Timothée Chalamet. Before I dive into Timothee's 5 major astrological points in his birth chart, I do want to tell you a little bit about today's awesome sponsor, Keen. There's been times in my life where I felt adrift. It's a very frustrating and helpless feeling. When I feel this way, what I want most is a little direction and insight into what I should be doing. If this sounds like you, then I want to tell you about something people have been using for over 2,000 years to find clarity in their life: astrology. Perhaps you read your horoscope from time to time and find some of the days surprisingly accurate, but getting an astrology reading can be even more profound. A birth chart reading, for example, can tell you where all the planets and stars were in the sky when you were born. This can provide invaluable insight into your personality, strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. Keen provides access to vetted astrology readers who will give you a reading through their app or website. Keen readers are available 24/7. There's always someone online. You can also easily schedule a call with the reader. As a new customer on Keen, you can try your first 10 minutes for only $1.99. Pricing then depends on which reader you choose, and the services are backed with a satisfaction guarantee. Find out if you're on the path to happiness or if it looks like you're better off steering clear of love, and get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99 by using my link in the description box below. Try keen.com/spiritualsocial. Despite his French-sounding name, Timothée Chalamet is an American-born actor. He hails from Manhattan, from New York. He's a person that at just 26 years old has already a really impressive filmography. One of the first movies he appeared in is Interstellar, where he played alongside Matthew McConaughey. He made his critically acclaimed debut internationally with a movie called Call Me By Your Name, a movie that stars a really beautiful love story that takes place between him and his co-star Armie Hammer. I have to say that the movie was a bit too slow-paced for my taste. I found it a little bit boring, but it was nonetheless sumptuous and really beautiful to watch. Additionally, Timothée played in Don't Look Up. And of course, you guys know him as well from his more romantic role in Little Women. Not only that, but more recently, he's the headliner of the movie Dune. And a movie that I haven't yet seen, but I'm super excited about watching, is Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch. I mean, I just saw clips of Timothée looking like this, and I think that he's so adorable, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Timothée is really special. I mean, a lot of you might actually think that it's a bit weird that I'm astro-hunking him. He doesn't really look like a hunk, but that's only because we are seeing at the moment 15% of what this guy has yet to reveal. I mean, Time magazine as well has put him on the cover of the next generation of leaders and also considers him to be a really promising person. There is something in his birth chart that indicates very strongly that the Timothée that we know and love today is only gonna get better and better and better. I personally think he's incredibly stylish as well. I really appreciated the way he got dressed for the Met Gala in 2021. The fact that he was wearing those sneakers and that he said that he had to walk or almost run a couple of blocks to reach the Met Gala was really, really fun. And it got me thinking of Hermes, Mercury, and that's why I associated him with the Knight of Swords. I just couldn't stop thinking how much he reminded me of the Knight of Swords from the court cards in the Rider-Waite Tarot. Again, his light, airy, stylish personality is something that he's actually growing into in this lifetime. And there are a couple of markers that I really need to talk to you about in this clip. But first, let's have a look at his chart. Number 1, the first thing that stands out of Timothée's chart, I guess you guys noticed as well, is the fact that he has a cluster of planets in the sign of Capricorn. These are placed in the performance house. This is the house naturally ruled by Leo, the house of the stage, the house of your skills and how you choose to share them with the collective. This is usually the house of an actor, a dancer, a singer, a creator, a leader, a spiritual guru. And we see that Timothée has 5 planets in Capricorn in that house. He was basically born to be an actor. His Sun is conjunct his Mars, conjunct his Mercury, conjunct Neptune, and then we also have Uranus in the mix. His Uranus is especially potent because it is at its final degree, the 29th degree. Now, bearing all these influences in mind, this is the heart of an introvert. It's a little bit paradoxical because a stellium shows that he needs to really focus on that specific area of his chart. This is something that he could have overlooked in previous lifetimes. He really needs to pay attention to how he learns skills and how he practices them in front of an audience, how he performs for a public. Capricorn is ruled by the sea goat. So the sea goat represents a person that lives very pragmatically, almost like on this rocky environment, but also it represents a merman, a person that is very in touch with their feelings and is very sensitive. So in spite of the fact that he looks quite ready, set, and willing to work, in spite of the fact that he seems to be a person that's quite modest and adorable, he is also an individual that is incredibly sensitive and attuned to a number of personal feelings that I don't think he has yet learned how to master, but he will in time with commitment and dedication. And this is also represented by the fact that he has his Sun conjunct Neptune, which gives him that Piscean sensitivity that is beautiful to watch on screen. A Capricorn Sun is usually known for being very serious, for being an individual that is hardworking, an individual that has to overcome a lot of karma in their lifetime. Stephen Arroyo, an astrologer that I absolutely love, he actually said that there are a couple of signs in the zodiac that represent deep karmic processing, and these are the signs of Virgo, Pisces, Scorpio, and Capricorn. Well, Timothée, born with a Sun in Capricorn, is a person that needs to process through a lot of karma in his lifetime, and this is only strengthened by the fact that he has a number of planets in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn doesn't show all of its skills, all of the talent, the intelligence, and the refinement that it actually contains within at an early age. This is a sign that actually has to go through a number of experiences in life. It has to actually overcome a number of challenges in order to fully ripen into all the potential that they have. So this is why Time magazine actually mentioned that there is a lot of promise in Timothee Chalamet, because we are only seeing the beginning of his ripening as a true Capricorn Sun. I am so excited to see what this guy will be doing around his second Saturn return, which usually happens around the age of 55 and 56. I'm sure that he's going to look even better. I'm sure that his acting would have refined even further, and I'm sure that he's going to be training the next generation of actors. The interesting part is because his Sun is crowded by all of these other planets, he isn't just a Capricorn. He is a Capricorn that borrows a little bit from Mars, so with a little bit of an Aries personality, then Mercury, so with a little bit of a Gemini personality, then Neptune, so with a little bit of a Piscean personality, and finally Uranus, so he's a lot like an Aquarius. All of these influences tell me two things about him. First of all, not only that he was born to be a performer and an actor, but also that he will be very good at it because he has the capacity to flexibly borrow traits from all of the aforementioned zodiac signs. And two, in spite of the fact that he seems to be a person surrounded by all of these famous actors, our guy is actually a loner, which sends me thinking to the other important marker in his chart. So the second most significant factor in Timothee's chart is the position of his south node and the north node. You guys know that I love to focus on these destined points because they show a person's past life legacy and what they have actually incarnated in this reality to grow into, to be destined to fulfill. So we see in Timothee's chart that he has a south node in Aries in the 8th house and a north node in Libra in the 2nd house. Now the 2nd house and the 8th house are really interesting houses. These represent material wealth, the 2nd house, so things such as money, income that you earn through your own independent means, the body and focus on bodily health, things that are very carnal, things that are very physical, things that are related to food, to nutrition, and also to touching, to sensuality, to developing a very beautiful sounding voice. And the 8th house is the opposite of this. So this is not about material wealth. This is about emotional wealth. This is about feeling cozy, surrounded by close family members, establishing intimacy and trust very easily with other people. The 8th house also rules over unspoken, unwritten agreements. I just get you. I trust you. We don't need to sign a contract. You know, I understand, you know, where that money comes from, and I trust that it comes from a good source. But it also talks about inheritances that are somehow karmically tied to a history of colonialism, domination, and oppression. The 8th house is a little bit spooky. It talks about family curses. It talks about having some sort of magnetic energy that pulls people into you. The 8th house is a lot about power and disempowerment, vulnerability, and true inner strength. This is a very emotional, spiritual, and healing house, and it's also a highly sexy house as well. Bearing this in mind, we see very strongly that not only does Timothy find his comfort zone in the spooky, sexy, magnetic 8th house, but he also has the sign of Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, the impulsive, primal, instinctive, charismatic, and creative loner of the zodiac. Aries in general are the soldiers. They are not people that are actually looking to become likable. They like something, they want to do it, and they go for it. It's a veni vidi vici kind of personality. This is an individual that doesn't need people to tell him what to do and how to do it. He feels it and he goes for it. And it's actually something really liberating when you see a person acting from this very instinctual place. So he has the energy of Mars in combination with the sexy 8th house. This makes him incredibly powerful and incredibly magnetic. Both men and women lust after him. But here's the interesting aspect. Gradually, our man has to let go of being a loner, of being just the person that attracts a lot of people. And I'm pretty sure that he pushes them away as well because of the other marker I'm going to talk to you about in a second. He needs to learn in this lifetime how to communicate first and act later. He needs to control his impulsivity. He needs to develop patience, and he definitely needs to keep his feelings under control. In order for him to earn money on his own and not rely on his family's money, he needs to carve his own independence by being interdependent, by collaborating with other people, by communicating, by being patient, by learning his lines, by following social etiquette. And not only that, he needs to come in contact with a lot of women in this lifetime due to his North Node in Libra in the 2nd house. This is a guy that increasingly is going to have to collaborate with more and more women, and he's going to have to learn how to become a true partner, both in romance, but also through his business collaborations. I'm sure that he's going to meet somebody through his work that he is going to fall in love with and potentially marry in the later part of his life, so after the age of 35. And this is a marker that I observed based on another significant astrological placement in his chart. Let's talk about his 3rd point. The other significant marker in Timothy's chart is his moon conjunct Saturn in Pisces in the 7th house. This is a really important karmic marker. I happen to share this position in a different sign than Timothy's, but also I have a moon conjunct Saturn, conjunct Uranus in my case. In his case, he's lucky he only has one outer planet conjunct his personal planet, the moon. But this talks about karmic pain. So he's going to have to control his feelings a lot. He naturally has a stop-start kind of energy surrounding his heart, surrounding his emotions. That's because he's supposed to be patient, quiet, observant. He's not supposed to be impulsive and to jump head first into relationships. He has to find a way to tune his heart and his wisdom to his mind and to his rational, pragmatic way of assessing reality. This is a guy that at the beginning of his life might have struggled a little bit to be emotionally open, to be sensitive. Either that, or he was far too sensitive, and the people around him had to teach him how to emotionally manage. This is especially significant since this placement is in the beautiful, dreamy, and often very weepy sign of Pisces. It's a really interesting thing that he shares this thing in common with Chris Pine. Although Chris Pine, the actor, doesn't have a moon conjunct Saturn, he has a really sweet moon in Pisces, for which he often said that he needs to go to therapy with, because as a man, he finds himself crying too much and too often, and he finds that that is a problem that he needs to get control over. Now with Timothée, this is the opposite. In spite of his extreme sensitivity, he is not one to actually show it and blurt it out just like that. It's a slow release of feelings. This is a guy that most of the time is on an even keel, and he has to really work at showing the intensity of his feelings at specific key moments. So potentially when the director says, "We're rolling, come on Timothée, show us that anger, show us those tears, show us that regret." He's a person that feels a lot, is incredibly sensitive, but Saturn blocks that energy. It ices him out. So he's a person that very easily can separate from his partners, very easily, very detached, can say, "That's it, enough. I had enough of this connection. I'm not going to invest emotionally anymore into it." So in spite of the fact that he comes across as very sweet and lovable, I can tell you from my experience, guys, he can be somebody that can easily close connections with people and move on to the next one. He can be somebody that just says, "That's it, enough. I'm not going to invest in the situation," packs his bag and moves away without looking back. This placement is further enhanced by the fact that he has it in the 7th house. This is the house of other people, contractual agreements. Again, a house that is ruled naturally by the sign of Libra. It talks about marriage, love, and alliances. Because he has his moon there, he is not aware of his feelings unless other people give him feedback. So other coworkers, other actors, directors, producers that constantly need to help him understand his feelings and understand the motivations behind why is he playing a specific character. Again, with Pisces there, this is the energy of the actor, of a very sensitive actor, an actor that will need to spend a lot of time in this incarnation, especially up until his first Saturn return around the ages of 28 and a half up until 30, to really spend time doing emotion work, emotional labor. The fact that it's placed in the 7th house, the house of Libra, also tells me that this is a person that will marry later on in life. So there will be a wide margin for Timothee Chalamet to really enjoy his bachelorhood, but there will also be frequent romantic disappointments. He will be disappointed in love over and over and over and over again until he learns to not rely on other people to tell him what to feel, but to find this within himself, to fine-tune his feelings on his own. And he's going to have to learn this by coming in contact with a lot of people. So we see there the moon conjunct Saturn in the 7th house, North Node in Libra in the 2nd house. So he will have many different relationships with women, some of which could be very disappointing. They could be very heartbreaking. And each time he's going to have to pick himself right back up after each emotional heartache and become stronger and more sensitive and more in tune with his inner world. And I hope that he will be able to overcome this and not turn to drugs or alcohol or other ways through which he might self-soothe all of these romantic disappointments, which unfortunately are part of his karmic contract in this incarnation. Let's talk about his 4th significant marker. This is his Venus in Aquarius in the 6th house. It's so beautifully linked to all of the other placements that I've been talking so far. So his Venus in the 6th house shows a person that enjoys routine, a person that likes to go to work every day, a person that appreciates sequencing, that appreciates order, cleanliness, purity. The 6th house is the house of the medic, the house naturally ruled in the zodiac by Virgo, and it shows a person that is a little bit of a perfectionist They have a specific way in which they like things to be done. Now, because his Venus is in the sign of Aquarius, he can get so emotionally detached. This is a guy that I'm telling you guys, you are better off having him as friend than as a lover. And if you have him as a lover with a moon conjunct Saturn and the fact that he has a Venus in Aquarius, you need to give him a lot of space to work. You need to trust him a lot. And this is not an individual that will feel good if you spend a lot of time hanging over his shoulder or hugging him a lot or touching him all the time. This is something that, as we saw with his North Node in the second house, he needs to gradually become more comfortable with touching, being touched, physical aspects of life, and also relaxing more into life. With a Venus in the 6th house, this is also a really intelligent placement. This is a person that is a keen student of human nature. He likes to observe things, almost like a detached social scientist that is taking notes on what exactly is this person doing? What is this person feeling? Can I emulate that? I mean, I can tell you from experience, guys, because I share this placement together with him. I have a Venus in Aquarius. I also have Moon conjunct Saturn, not in Pisces like Timothée. Mine is in Sagittarius, but I also can get incredibly emotionally detached in my personal connections, and I feel the need for freedom, while he feels the need to dream. He feels the need for a love story to take place in his life, but he could also easily fall in love with love more often than he falls in love with real people. Or if he were to fall in love with a real person, Timothy would actually have a very platonic relationship with them. This is not a passionate guy. This is dreamy, tender, open-minded, tolerant, I'm your best friend kind of energy. A really interesting thing that I noticed as I was digging up some facts about his family is that he has another actress sibling, Pauline Chalamet, who is actually born with an Aquarius sun. And he seems to be pretty close to her. They seem to be goofing around. And it's interesting because his Venus in Aquarius touches upon her Aquarius sun, which gives me the strong indication that he's very emotionally attached to his sister. So seems quite in a good connection with both of his parents. The only thing that I need to say is that gradually Timothy is going to have to separate himself from his relatives, from his family members. With the Moon conjunct Saturn, these are frequent separations from the mother that are in the future for him. And these separations are going to teach him more about self-reliance and self-mastery. He's going to gradually let go of the enmeshment that he's currently finding himself in with his mother, his sibling, his father, and potentially a reliance on his family's wealth in order to create his own wealth, in order to make a name for himself, and to potentially fall in love and establish a long-term connection with a partner that he can have an equal power couple-like dynamic with. In the 6th house also shows me a guy that will increasingly work with women, female directors, female producers. He will be constantly surrounded by women. This is his destiny. He's supposed to be patient, sensitive, and a lot of the women in his life are going to teach him a lot about this, developing his empathy, developing an understanding of what it means to put yourself in the shoes of the opposite gender. Because as you guys know, and as I mentioned before, his South Node is actually rather masculinist. With the South Node in Aries in the 8th house, this guy was an incredible buff in another lifetime. And in this incarnation, he's supposed to get more in touch with his feminine side. And the final point that I think is super important to focus on in his chart, you can see it over here in this thin sliver that I managed to cut out from his chart. His midheaven in Taurus, which portends a very good, reliable, solid legacy. The midheaven shows what we leave behind, our public image, the awards, the achievements, the professional image that we craft carefully throughout time. The midheaven can sometimes be associated with the 10th house, although they are different. The midheaven is a point in the chart, while the 10th house is the entire space that is given to the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn naturally rules the 10th house in astrology. So we see here that he has an earth energy, fixed earth energy, Taurus, in the house of his legacy, his public image. He will leave behind a beautiful, moral, well-crafted legacy, an artistic legacy as well, because Taurus, being ruled by Venus, is the sign of the artist together with Libra. So you see how beautifully the midheaven in Taurus fits very well with the North Node in Libra in his chart, which actually says that he is born to be an artist, he is born to be a performer, if we have a look as well at his 5th house and all that Capricorn stellium. But he's born to be a performer that only gets better through time, like a fine wine, or like a really important delicacy that needs to mature throughout time. Timothée is only gonna get better and better, and I'm really excited to see the next things that he has cooked up right under his sleeve. Another beautiful aspect about this midheaven position is that it is strongly lit up from the private depths of his heart by his natal Pluto in Sagittarius in the 4th house. Pluto in Sagittarius is a really important marker of a generation of souls that can manifest things very easily through what they say, through what they do especially. This is a group of people I call the oracles because they have incarnated in this lifetime in order to change beliefs, to transform traditions and habits. Now, Timothée is really interesting because not only does he have a very powerful Pluto and Sagittarius at the 1st degrees of Pluto, but also it is conjunct Jupiter in Sagittarius. A lot of people that know astrology and that have been practicing it for years know this placement as the mogul aspect. This is a placement that portends phenomenal wealth. So when you have the planet of power in a really emotional part of the chart, the 4th house, together with Jupiter, the great expander, the wealth bringer, the growth planet, also in the 4th house, the house of depths, roots, cultural connections. This tells me that Timothée could actually become an international star later on in life. Not only that, but I think that he will increasingly start to act in French-speaking movies and maybe movies in other dialects. I feel that this guy is going to transform right before our eyes and speak many different languages. Maybe he might even adopt a variety of different religious beliefs throughout his lifetime. And he's certainly someone that we will see change from an emotional point of view right before our eyes, because Pluto and Jupiter sit right across from the 10th house. So whatever work he does in private, whatever disappointments he manages to overcome in his personal connections, remember that Moon conjunct Saturn in the 7th house, whatever shadow work he integrates about himself in this incarnation by communicating with his partners, North Node in Libra in the 2nd house, South Node in Aries in the 8th house, right? The shadow self. All this work is going to benefit his career and propel him to fantastic heights. This guy is here to stay. He's not going anywhere. He's only going to get better in time, and he's going to expand his reach as he grows into this beautiful Capricorn stellium energy. He is going to be one of the wealthiest people around in a couple of years' time. So keep an eye open for him and the beautiful surprises that Timothée Chalamet has to showcase the world. One thing that I wanted to mention, and I thought it was really fun, and again, it shows how astrology works in reality and how powerful astrological influences are, is the fact that he has exquisite cheekbones, right? You can see very clearly that his entire bone structure really stands out, and to be very sharp as well, sharp dressed and also sharp looking most of the time. Well, this is mostly because Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, rules over the bone structure, rules over our skeleton, the foundations of life, the institutions in society, but also the foundations of our body. And what can be more foundational than your skeleton? The skeleton is also the one that really endures throughout time. When we die, our meat, our hair, our nails, all of these continue to dissipate throughout the years, but the skeleton is the one that actually archaeologists can find even thousands of years after we were dead. So his bone structure is really standing out, and that's also because of his Capricorn stellium. So if you share any of these placements together with Timothée, let me know down below. That's what I had for you today. I hope you have enjoyed this clip. Make sure to like it, subscribe it. Make sure to leave comments down below. What is your favorite movie of Timothée? What is it that you love about him the most? What do you think about his placements? Do you share something in common with him? Do you agree with some of the interpretations that I created for you here today? Why and why not? Also, before you leave, I need to remind you to take advantage of the really wonderful deal that Keen is offering. You can actually have the first 10 minutes of a reading for just $1.99, and make sure that you use my link down in the description box below for your viewing pleasure. Try keen.com/spiritualsocial. Yeah, that's all I had for you. Bye!